Alright, so now we talk about education system and education sector and what might be a bit problematic there, and also a phenomenon that I think is the concept problem that and paradigm. So if there is something that has existed long time, we are just creating things around it and we don't criticize the core of the whole concept, that is that right. So this might be interesting to you even though you are not working in education sector or currently educating yourself at school. So just if you didn't know, I'm from Finland and I've been working a lot with the Finnish universities and academia, and we used to be in Finland relatively known and still are of course known, but we used to be leaders in pedagogy and education and blah blah blah, and now we are going worse and worse all the time. It's a different topic of course why that happens, but I think that I'm not talking here only about what in other education system might be weird, but I talk about the whole global phenomenon of education and what might be problematic there. And I think that one of the core problems is that it comes from the 18th century, like Prussia, the unificator of Germany. They invented the idea of giving education to everyone and the state giving this education. The idea was that there is a person who talks and gives information, and then there is these people who are learning, a classroom, and it's for everyone. So if you notice that where I'm going here is that it's technically still the same, like in Finland we might have there some, design couches and a little bit more flexible, that when can you do your homeworks, for example, when can you do your tasks during the school day and blah blah blah. I mean, it's still the same in essence. It's the core of things hasn't changed at all. And what do I see there as a problem is that the technology and the way people are living have changed tremendously in the past decades. Or let's take it this way, that in the 18th century, if you take a person who lived in 1850 and who lives in 1910, for example, they might still relate a bit between each other, that there isn't like that big change there, especially if they are going to school, there might be, a lot of similarities in the world around them still, even though it's time of industrialization and everything. But if you take a person who was living, for example, in 1950s and person who is living 2010, there is already a big gap there, how people talk, how they spend time, and what is the level of the technology. So still the school is at the same stage as its core as it was in the 18th century, but the technology is way beyond. And also the people who live life, the young people who are preschool, they have lived so different life than what the school is supposed to be, the kids know about gamification, they play mobile apps, they know different type of feedback loops, they know different type of learning methods, and they probably have learned also to have quite short temper because the world is so hectical. And then they are suddenly forced to go into a place, wake up early as hell, I hate to wake up early, and then go there and spend 8 hours of their day listening to people, and they are expected to learn. I mean, it's so weird if you start to think about it, that let's take a teenagers, they need a lot of sleep and they are forced to go early into school and they are not learning half of the day. I mean, if I would be personally put to concentrate 8 hours on multiple different topics, I might be completely devastated after a few days. Not to mention that I would need to do it for, let's say, 10 years or whatever. So it's not even efficient. People are pushed information like they could somehow be like a tabula rasa that you can just write on those blank papers like human brains. It's bullshit. It doesn't exist. We are not tabula rasa. We are way more complicated creatures, and we are all a different type of learners anyway. I mean, they say that some people learn different way, blah blah blah, but we are different. All of us are different type of learners, and I think that what we should put more emphasis on is that we give people more responsibility from the young age to create their own type of education schedules. Yeah, some people say that young people even today can't handle, stress or whatever, but if we would put a little bit faith on them and give them more flexibility on how to build their own curriculum and how to, for example, do the homeworks. I mean, if young people want to stay awake at night, then please stay awake at night and do your homework at night, and give them, for example, virtual reality devices to make some gamified lectures and gamified tasks that they can learn from and do them on their own time when they want, rather than drag them to the school where they don't probably want to be or they are very tired to be. So the key point that I'm trying to bring in here is that we should probably step away from the old concepts and look at them critically, and then not to try to make something prettier that doesn't work. You know, it doesn't take us anywhere if we are still in the 18th century as its core, even though the world is already way beyond that. So rather than trying to pimp something that's rotten and rusty, we should just make something new and hopefully empower and give more responsibility to young people, because the world we are living now is very dynamic and hectic, and there are a lot of things that changes all the time, and also the needs for different knowledge and know-how is changing all the time. And what I would actually like to change a lot, this is something that I'm not sure about personally, but I would put it this way, that the people from the early age would already start to specialize on things that they are interested about. That this kind of giving common knowledge about things might not be the best idea in the end. That it would be better if the people who have a burn for mathematics would be specializing on that from the first grade and so on. But that's just idea. But nevertheless, I hope this woke up some thoughts inside of your brain, and possibly if you are in deciding position, you might also consider that, are we doing things correctly and do we remember the end user? There is a video about that too.